Hey y'all, welcome to Paige's Perspective, where I help you find your inner strength to cope with life. So this week, we're going to talk about the power of questions. Are you asking the right questions? You know, have you ever noticed how the questions you ask yourself actually shape the way you see the world? So, for example, when something goes wrong, do you ask yourself, why does this always happen to me? Or do you ask, what can I learn from this? There's a slight shift in these questions, and it can make a huge difference in how you feel and what you do next. So in this episode, I'm going to explore how to challenge your inner dialogue. We're going to talk about different questions that we ask that are disempowering, and then how you can shift it to a more empowering question. It's reframing the way that we ask questions, because when we do this, it's more uplifting. It's more it brings something that's more actionable. You're able to actually see things more clearly. And I see it a lot of times in the community. People are asking specific questions that I understand why they're being asked. I know that they're valid questions. However, they're not very empowering questions, because it's more about the other person instead of things that you can really control. So when we shift this and we shift our thoughts from disempowering to empowering questions, you'll see what I'm saying. You'll get an idea of what it can do for you going forward within any situation that you're dealing with. So our thoughts are mirrors, and the questions that we ask ourselves are going to reflect the beliefs about the world and your place in it. And disempowering questions reinforce the negative narratives, while the empowering ones can open up all the possibilities. It's more empowering. I know that word gets used a lot, but that's what we do. That's what we do here. We try to help you see that you are not powerless, that there are things within your control within these situations, even though we feel so damn stuck. So here's some examples of disempowering questions. This is just general questions that we may ask within everyday situations that we deal with, not necessarily as being a spouse or partner of an addict or alcoholic, but I will get there a little bit down the line. So a disempowering question: why am I so bad at this? Let's say you're doing something that you've done over and over again and you feel like you're really bad at this. An empowering question, a way to shift that perspective, is to say, what skills can I practice to improve? So there's a difference here. You're still going to try to get a solution based on this. But when we say, why am I so bad at this? Our thoughts are going to be stuck in that. And we're just going to think, oh my gosh, I'm just bad. I'm awful at this. As a perfectionist, I have a problem with this sometimes. I do this, but I do try to shift my thoughts of more, what can I do to improve? What can I change within my life to improve whatever situation I'm in that I feel I'm really bad at? Another question that's disempowering is, why is everything so hard? Why is everything so hard? So you can't really get a solution to that. There's no answer to that question. We can't necessarily tell you why is it so hard. I mean, we can tell you why something is so hard, but does it really change the fact that it's hard? No. Let's shift it to a more empowering question of, what's a small step that I can take to make this easier? What can I do? What can I control to make something feel less difficult? So think of your mind like a search engine. All right. And type in what's wrong with me. And it's going to spit out a whole list of your faults. It's going to spit out all of these faults. But when you type out, how can I grow from this? It's going to start looking for solutions. It's more solution based. So if we ask these like, what is wrong? What's going on? Or why am I so bad? Or why is everything so hard? It's going to just like feed that negativity instead of swapping it into something that's more positive and more, like, what can I change? What can I control? Let's look at like blame versus responsibility questions. A disempowering question would be, who's at fault? So let's say that you're at an airport and the airplane is, you can't get on, it's delayed because there are technical difficulties or whatnot. And you're just like, oh my gosh, this airline sucks. You're at fault. You've messed up my plans, What's the purpose of that? What is it going to do for you? It's not going to fix it. So an empowering question is going to be, what can I do to improve the situation? you change your mindset, you shift it, and you're like, you know what, this sucks, but hey, what can I do to make this better? I'm going to go take a walk around the airport and get some steps in. I'm going to go do some squats here in the corner. I'm going to go window shopping. Maybe I need to do some work on my laptop. Like, what you change the question, and it becomes much easier to digest. It becomes easier to actually find a solution and manage and cope and become more resilient within the situations. So there's stuck versus forward thinking. A disempowering question might be, why can't I ever catch a break? Switch it to an empowering question, which is, what's one thing I can do to create an opportunity? So you're always feeling like, what if you're just having a bad season, okay? And shit just keeps hitting the fan and everything is like comes in threes. Or maybe, you've just had a really, really rough year and you think, why can't I ever catch a break? It's a valid question, but does it give you solutions for the problem? No. We got to switch it. What's something that I can do to create an opportunity? What's something I can do to improve the situation? That's just so much more empowering than just like sitting in and just saying, why can't I ever catch a break? You're just going to sit in that pity party for a long time when we keep saying the disempowering questions. And then fixed mindset versus growth mindset, which I've done an episode on this before. And the disempowering question might be, why am I so bad at this? Change it. Empowering. What can I practice to get better? I got a drum set for Christmas. Shout out, husband. I got a drum set because he is not a big fan of drums, but I have been wanting to do drums for a long time. And I can sit there and ask myself all day long, why am I so bad at this? That doesn't help me. What can I do to get better? Okay, I can ask questions from people who do play the drums. I can go on to YouTube and actually take a class or, self-teach myself, or I can go to actually School of Rock or something like that and take some type of class. If I sit in the why am I so bad at this, I'm not going to move forward and I'm just going to give up. That's just what happens because it's a disempowering question. So here are some questions that a lot of spouses of addicts often ask. I'm going to shift directions for just a second. Why do they keep choosing their addiction over me? What did I do to deserve this? Why can't they just stop? Am I not enough for them to change? How can I make them see what they're doing to us? How do I get them to stop using? How do I manage their moods? How do I cope with this? A lot of these questions, if you think about it, are directed towards the other person. It's focusing on them, which we can't change them. We cannot control them. We can't do any of those things. They are a human being, just like they can't change us or anything like that. They have to figure that out for themselves. So we need to reframe these questions that are more empowering and more actionable. So it's more focused on you. What boundaries can I set to protect myself? How can I prioritize my own healing and well-being, or my own growth, my own challenges, my own self? What resources can I seek out for support? What steps can I take to create the life I deserve, regardless of their choices? How can I model healthy behavior for myself and even my family, my children? What is within my control to change or improve? And how can I build a support system to navigate this situation? These are amazing questions because they're actually going to help you make changes. The other questions will not provide change. They won't provide solutions. They won't. These questions will. So how do we shift our mindset? How do we get to this? If we're one who is asking a lot of disempowering questions, how can we shift it to the more empowering questions? Because we know that change is hard. We know that it's difficult to shift our perspectives, but I've got some tools that I can help you with. First, you need to pause and reflect. So catch yourself anytime you feel like you're asking disempowering questions. Like when you feel like you're asking a question more based on them instead of what you can control, catch yourself. Write it down. Look at it. Recognize that those questions do often stem from, your pain, your frustration, your fear, and that's okay. But once you're aware that you're asking these questions and they may need to shift, that's the first step to actually make the change. Now I want you to reframe the question. Use your curiosity to reframe it into something actionable. Instead of, why do I always fail? Try, what can I do differently next time? It's going to help you see things more clearly. So anytime you feel like you're doing these disempowering questions, just see if you can swap it, change it. What is something that you can control? Challenge your negative narratives. If your inner dialogue is spiraling, challenge it. Ask yourself, is this really true? Or what evidence supports a more balanced view? So instead of, I'll never get through this, try changing your question to, what have I gotten through before that shows that I'm stronger than I think? You've gotten through a lot of shit within your life. I guarantee it. You've survived 100% of the days that you've gotten through. So if you have these questions of, I'll never get through this, or if you think that you'll never get through this, question that and shift it. Try to shift your perspective and your mindset to a more positive question, because you are stronger than you think. And the last one is really, really important. Practice your self-compassion. When you shift your mindset, it's hard work, guys. Growth is hard. I want to do an episode on why growth is hard and how it's hard, and it's okay to be hard, but it's not about being perfect. It's about progress. It's about having self-compassion. Be kind to yourself when these questions sneak in, and just remind yourself that it's going to take time to shift your perspective. Next, I want you to journal. I've actually got some journaling prompts for you that will help you practice some empowering questions, because when we journal, it is such a great way to rewire your thinking if you have some prompts. What's one thing I learned from a recent challenge? That's a great question to ask yourself and to reflect on. What strengths have helped me overcome obstacles in the past? This is great because it's focusing on your strengths instead of your character defects, which a lot of us tend to do anyway. Like, we're always focusing on what we're doing wrong. Shift on what we can do. What are we doing great? What are these strengths? What have they helped me overcome in things from the past? You've got them. I promise. Another question is, what's one small step I can take today to move closer to my goals? Another question is, if I could speak to my future self, what advice would they give me about this situation? And the last question is, how can I focus on what's within my control today? So these are just some journal prompts to help you ask these more empowering questions that are going to become more actionable, because it puts more control into your hands and not focusing on the external factors that you have no control over anyway. The way that we ask questions is extremely important. What questions we ask, that's what's important. And it's not magically going to solve your problems. But when you shift it, it's shifting your focus to what's possible. And that's huge. That's hope. That's what hope is. So the next time you're stuck, remember that the questions you ask determine the answers that you're going to get. Because sometimes the right question is all it takes to turn a struggle into something beautiful. When you shift your mindset to empowering questions, you're reminding yourself that you have the strength to navigate even the hardest moments. So I hope this is helpful. This is going to be short this week. It was hard for me to come up with a topic on the new year, since we just did a new year resolution topic on Wednesday, but that's all I have for this week. Until next time, I'm Paige. Bye.